I thought you might be interested to hear something about when I was a child. Um, when I was real young, I must have been, I would say, 5 or 6. Mom and I and Dad and my brother, my youngest brother Paul, we would go down. We used to live in Norfolk, Massachusetts, and from there we would drive down to Swiss Beach. Was the first beach we lived at, and Daddy bought a cottage on the ocean, and they had what was called a uh, theater. You couldn't see it until dark, and you sat in a chair, and there was a big screen, and it was outside, and it cost us 10 cents a piece to go to it. And every night we would go, if it was a good movie, and watch it. And we sit in hard seats that were very uncomfortable. But for 10 cents, in those days, 10 cents was very hard for my parents to come up with. Now, other things were interesting that most people don't know. They also had a place where they rented bikes, children's bicycles, and tricycles. So for $10, for 10 cents, Dad, and Mom would give me a quarter every week for allowance, every month, I mean. And I was about 5 years old, and I said, Mother, I'd like to. Is it all right if I spend my dime to go and rent a bike? And so, whenever I got my allowance, I took a 10 cents, and I just got on a bike. It was okay. It wasn't a big bike. It was a children's two-wheel bike. It was brown. And once a week, when I got, Mom or Dad would give me a dime, I'd ask them for it. They'd say, go ahead. And I'd ride the bike. The first time I went to ride it, I never knew how to ride it. I just got on and ride it. So then Dad built a cottage on Hamilton Beach, which was not too far off. And he built it, and then we went over there. And to get to Hamilton Beach, you had to go out a dirt road from where it was off of Wareham, Massachusetts. And we would have to go off this dirt road. And every high tide, the ocean came over the road, and you couldn't get out off the island. And I hated it there because I was the only child there. It was mostly all grown-ups staying at that beach. And there was nothing I could do about it. So when I got about 14, I believe it was, or 15, Daddy got the idea, and he knew I didn't like it there because just my younger brother and I were the only children on the beach. And it was like a round circle, like a big tire or something, and it only had about, I would say, 100 cottages back to back in a round circle. So it was kind of upper class. That's why I didn't like it. But Dad did buy me a little rowboat while I was there, and I spent my whole time at the ocean, swimming or rowing the boat, and we lived on quahogs. I don't know if anybody knows. They're a seafood. And every time it was low tide, Mom and my brother and I, my younger brother and I, would go down and dig for them, and we get enough for a meal. So we got a lot of free meals. And by the time, I think we'd been there about probably 4 or 5 years when my folks even got sick of it, and Daddy sold it. But meanwhile, we ate an awful lot of quahogs. And I'm going to tell you something, I've never ever opened one since, or I never heard of them. I only heard of them down in the, you see what happens when the tide goes out, it goes out a long, long way. So, and then you take your shovel and a little pail, and you dig up all this seafood. And so we get a lot of free meals. So that's some of what went on as a child. And when Daddy and Mom and I and the children, we all lived in Norfolk, Mass for quite a few years. And Daddy had dug a well at the end of our three-mile property, and it was just a dug-in well. And the train went within 2 miles. at the end of our property. It would go the whole length of our property. From Norfolk, Mass. To, it went to, I'd go on it sometimes to Franklin. And I also, when I grew up, I went the other way to work in Norwood, Mass. On the train. So, anyways, every summer the well went dry. So Daddy got these oil they're called oil barrels in my day. They were brown, and he scrubbed them clean and put them in every spigot on the house. Oh, by the way, Dad built the house, the house, the whole house, and I helped him put the chimney on and do a lot of the work because I was about 13 or 14 then. And so we lived in the rainwater, like we bathed in the rainwater and all this stuff every time it rained because the well would go dry for the whole summer. And Dad built we called it a summer house, but I ended up sleeping in it every night all summer. It was Dad and Mom bought a cot, and I spent my whole summer sleeping out there. And all it was high off the ground, and it had screens for all four sides, and a waterproof roof. So if it rained during the night and the rain come in, I got wet. And in those days, this was when I was 12, we had what was known as an outdoor toilet. There was no such thing as a bathtub because Daddy hadn't finished building the house. When it was finished, he we even had to have an outside pump. Nobody knows what they are today. No one has them. But they're a crank, and you got to prep them. And that's how we got our water until Dad finished building the house. And we had a dirt cellar. So I think that's all for tonight. And everybody, good health, blessed day.
Thanks for watching, and as always, the fun never ends in Sea Sparkles Corner. Feel free to share, feel free to subscribe. Hugs and kisses from my family to yours. Thanks for watching. Bye, everybody.